All right, welcome back to my YouTube series that I'm doing on combating the stigma of mental illness. If you're keeping track, this is the third episode. This episode is going to cover everything you need to know about mood disorders. I kind of start by describing some common myths and misconceptions about mood disorders before going into this thing called a mood spectrum. And I wrap up with just a couple of specific mood disorders that I think you guys would find interesting and like to know more about. So in order to understand mood disorders, you first have to understand the difference between emotion and mood. So an emotion is a reaction to something that affects how you feel. It lasts a pretty short amount of time. A mood is different in the fact that it is much more persistent over time, and it's not really a reaction to something specific externally. It's more just how you feel overall and cannot really be attributed to anything.
Because I'm in a bad mood.
About what?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because you just,
So in order to explain mood disorders, I first have to explain this tool that psychologists use called the mood spectrum. So I drew this fancy little picture that kind of depicts any type, like there's 5 different moods that anyone can be in at any given point. Starting down here at the bottom, we have major depressed mood state. And then you work your way all the way up to a manic mood state. So keep this in mind as we go through the video. I'm going to be talking about it a lot and referencing a lot. But yeah, here's my little picture of it if you didn't get it the first time. Everyone has been through 4 of the mood states with the exception of the manic mood state, which is only found in those with bipolar 1 disorder or if you're on cocaine, which we'll talk about.
I can't feel my face.
So next I'm going to be breaking down each mood state, starting with major depressed mood state. And really this is a natural reaction to something bad happening, like a funeral or going through a bad breakup or maybe like not getting into a college or job that you really hope for. It's just like an overall feeling of rejection and you're unmotivated for a few days, but after some time it will pass. The problem in people who get diagnosed with a mood disorder is that they get stuck in this mood state and can't get out. So major depressed mood state is accompanied by 2 major symptoms, and those are anhedonia and dysphoria.
what you talking about, mister?
Anhedonia is basically just the inability to experience any type of pleasure at all. Things that typically should make you happy don't.
Your meatloaf is mushy, your salmon croquettes are oily, and your eggplant parmesan is a disgrace to this house!
The other accompanying symptom is what psychologists call dysphoria, and that's basically just a feeling of being unsatisfied or unfulfilled. People who are dysphoric basically are extremely susceptible to like huge bouts of sadness.
Nothing to do, and no hope of things getting better. Sounds like Saturday night at my house.
Next we have a dysthymic mood state, which is a notch lower on the, or well, I guess technically a notch higher on the mood spectrum if you're starting with major depressed mood state. But these people still experience all the characteristics and associated symptoms of a major depressed mood state, like lower energy, diminished motivation, and lack of sleep or appetite. Just not in a way that is affecting their day-to-day routine and activities. They're not experiencing anhedonia or dysphoria to the point that it's interfering with what they do on a daily basis. So moving further up the mood spectrum, we have euthymic mood state, and this is really simple. It's literally a feeling of being neutral or normal in a sense.
Hi, how are you?
It's just how most of us feel most of the time. So bear with me for a minute because I'm going to jump all the way to manic mood state because it's easier to explain the hypomania, if I explain mania first. This is the mood state that not many people experience. There are 2 major symptoms to a manic mood state as well, and those are a feeling of euphoria and a sense of grandiosity. So this feeling of euphoria is basically characterized by just this overwhelming sense that your life is great. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing in your way of accomplishing everything you've ever wanted to do in life and ever thought you could do. That feeling of euphoria is coupled with a sense of grandiosity, which is just that the world revolves solely around you. and that you are the most important thing and everyone needs to know what you're doing because it's the greatest thing in the world. So each of these might sound great on their own, but when coupled together in an individual, it creates an extreme dangerousness that leads to basically no impulse control and them just doing whatever they like, whatever they please. Those in a manic mood state are likely to start and begin many different like activities or projects without any sense of how to go about it or how to finish it.
I'm gonna. Oh, really? Yes. So go get the power saw. Okay, I will.
So next we have a hypomanic mood state or mini mania, and this as well is something that we've all experienced. This is when you just like wake up on the right side of the bed and you're overly motivated, overly productive the whole day, and you just get a ton done. When someone is in a hypomanic mood state, they're noticeably different than their normal self to those around them.
All this time, we've been building it. We've been building it for you.
They have an increased sense of energy and which results in like sped up thinking and a lot of flighty ideas. Their need for sleep goes down. They often make like big plans, insisting that, hey, we have to live life to the fullest, you know. That sense of impulsivity is still there, but not on such a big scale. So next I'm going to be talking about a couple common mood disorders, and the first thing that we need to understand is that there are two kinds of mood disorders, and those are unipolar, meaning moving in only one direction from a euthymic mood state, or a bipolar mood state that fluctuates both down and up the mood spectrum. The first common mood disorder we have is major depressive disorder, or MDD. And this is being locked into a major depressed mood state for at least a period of 2 weeks. In order to be diagnosed, your symptoms have to be interfering with the way you go about your daily activities and affecting at least one or more key areas of your life. When you're in a major depressed mood state for more than 2 weeks, a lot of times you start to see unraveling of key things that you need in life to be successful. When you have friends or family stop associating with you, or you're falling extremely behind in either work or school, there is room for the need for intervention and the need for therapy or medication and treatment. So next we have a persistent depressive disorder, or PDD, or dysthymic mood disorder, or mini depression. It has a lot of names.
What's his name? What's his name? I got nothing on a name. Come on, baby, what's the name?
This is being locked into a dysthymic mood state for no external reason that can't be attributed to something else happening. The symptoms of a major depressive mood state are still felt, but they don't start getting in the way of your day-to-day activities. You know, these people can still wake up, go to work, take care of themselves. It's just kind of like they're going through the motions and don't have real energy towards anything. The terminology for this disorder is kind of tricky, and it's one of those things where it's like, on more days than not, for a whole year, this person is locked into a dysthymic mood state. The average length of someone going through a persistent depressive disorder episode is 3.5 years. So it's going to take a long time for any kind of medication or therapy to have real benefits. So those first two disorders that we talked about were unipolar disorders, in which someone's mood state went only one direction, and that was down. Next we have bipolar disorder, and this is characterized by someone who hits every end of the spectrum. People with bipolar 1 spend time in a major depressed mood state a lot of the time, but also fluctuate all the way up to a manic episode where they experience senses of euphoria and grandiosity. Again, this is when someone's mood state, not like their emotion, fluctuates to a point that it's unpredictable and it gets in the way of them doing their daily activities. Well, bipolar 2 disorder is characterized by individuals who go from 0 to 4 basically on the mood spectrum. They're in a major depressed mood state most of the time and are diagnosable major depressed, but they also experience episodes of hypomania. They never really feel the full effects of a major depressed episode or a manic mood state, but they feel the symptoms of both, and their mood state fluctuates to a point of getting in the way of what they're able to do on a daily basis. Alright, thank you guys for watching the episode on mood disorders. As always, please like it, share, and subscribe. I know I go a little fast on the videos, but if you have any questions or comments or anything, you can always leave them in the comments or ask me. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.